Thank you, everyone, for being very punctual. Guys, do you want to introduce yourself and let everyone know? I mean, I assume everybody knows you guys, but I guess there's going to be a lot of people who don't, even despite TV appearances this morning. So I'm going to kick off just in order on my screen. So Richard, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Richard Vorton. I've been hanging around the industry for just over 25 years. I've owned and exited a few management companies and a tech business. And now I currently help managers, a board advisor to a few businesses, and I do M&A work.
Super. Thank you, Richard. Just next in line for me is Mr. Mark Simpson. Mark, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Mark Simpson, founded a company called Boostly 10 years ago. I've been in this industry for a lot longer than that. And very excited to be here. Looking forward to this discussion. It's one that's now following me around the internet, thanks to Mr. Richard Vaughan that we will dig into. But yeah, excited to be part of it. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Mark. And Boris, over to you. Last but by no means least.
Hi, everyone. My name is Boris Pavlov. I've been in the industry for 10 years, first as an operator. I launched, scaled, and eventually sold one of the largest vacation rental management companies in Central Eastern Europe. And for the past 3 years, I've been working on a tech company in the short-term rental space.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. So today we're going to talk about the future of WordPress in the short-term rental industry. I know we have a lot of people here who are going to be watching live and on the recordings who obviously have their websites, their direct booking websites powered by WordPress. On a personal note, I have been involved in the short-term rental industry for many years. You guys will all know me as an SEO consultant back in the day, going back about 12 years. WordPress was the CMS of choice, one that I always used. So it's been something very close to me for many years. We know times are changing, and we know AI is going to be a big part of this conversation. So I'm holding fort with Mark here, whilst Richard and Boris try to knock us as much as possible. But we're going to try and create a balanced view of WordPress versus new technology and what we can all be considering as property managers. So Mark won't be joining us actually in our Scale with AI event in Brighton in a few weeks, but Boris and Richard will. So if anyone is interested in AI, and you may well be a little bit more after this session, we do invite you to join us. We'll give you all a special promo code to join us in Brighton on June the 9th. And Scale UK on the 10th. And we also have our Scale Fest event, which is our our international festival event coming up in October. All of the guys will be here at that, and AI, amongst many other categories, will be discussed. Then we've got people coming from all over the world. Anyway, back to the webinar at hand. So what is the future of WordPress in the STR industry? I'd like to just go back a little bit to note when WordPress was created and founded. It was roughly about 2003. It is believed, I say believed because there's no finite data on this, but it's believed that it powers roughly about 45% of all websites on the internet. The guys might be able to give me more updated facts than that. And in the short-term rental industry, perhaps a little bit less, about 35% of all STR websites. Why is it growing so big? It's open source. Anyone can download, host, modify, and build upon it effectively for free. And we have many scores of thousands of free plugins and tools. I know we're probably going to talk about plugins and issues there might be with plugins out there, but this is something that has helped a lot of property managers grow very quickly using this CMS of choice. So I would like to get to know all of your experiences of using WordPress. Now, I'm going to start with Boris because I'm not entirely sure of Boris's experience and how he's used WordPress in the past. So, Boris, I'm going to go over to you. Boris is a TV celebrity today, by the way. If anyone missed it at the start, he was on Bulgarian TV today, but he always looks this dapper.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Damien. And I'm usually on TV. It's not something special. No, I'm just joking. So actually, I'll share something that none of you guys know. The first website that I created myself was when I was 12 years old. And that's before WordPress was created. I just kind of shared my age here. And it was written on a notepad, Microsoft's notepad thing. It was a .html file, which then you open in your browser, and that's how you render the website. I used to write HTML code, then I started writing JavaScript, and then I saw a thing called Dreamweaver. Anyone here heard about Dreamweaver?
Yeah.
All right, Dreamweaver. So I moved on to Dreamweaver. I trashed a few PCs along the way because I was experimenting with all sorts of weird things, some of them viruses. So that's, along the way, I've been building websites pretty much all my conscious life, I would say so. I've never, ever built a website from scratch on WordPress. That has never happened to me. I've had the luck, well, how do you say the opposite of pleasure? I don't know, the displeasure of having to modify websites with WordPress and found it extremely difficult. But I've never built one from scratch. So there you go. That's my experience.
Boris, I'm just going to ask you that. Why was it difficult?
Because you have all these things on the left-hand side, and this menu, and then every single WordPress website has a different menu on the left-hand side, because you have all these plugins that you have to update, and you have to know which plugin does what, and where does Elementor go in the whole mix. Why do we have Elementor on top of WordPress? And then there is another plugin for the CRM and another plugin for the I don't know, the analytics, and then another plugin, and then you have to keep in mind all of these plugins. It was, from a user interface perspective and a user experience perspective, it was overwhelming for me. And that's a very, very honest answer. I mean, regardless of what we do today at my company, I would say that this was a very frustrating experience for me.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think there's a lot of property managers out there who have over the years built websites and just keep on adding plugins and testing themes, and it can turn into a bit of a mess. Richard, I'm going to turn to you because I think Rentivo did use WordPress, if I'm correct. But anyway, I'm going to give you the floor.
Well, you're wrong, actually. So, yeah, a bit like Boris, the year 2000, we started building websites, HTML, and then we weaved the dream using Dreamweaver and got into ASP, started a management company. You recruited some Ukrainians. They developed websites for us, bespoke, which worked extremely well. And then when we started a tech business after we sold management companies, or at the same time, we started building websites we had about 600 independent owners running on a bespoke website system, which was also a headache because the technology wasn't up to scratch at that point to actually support all these very, very challenging individuals who wanted to move their logo from top left to bottom right in a bright yellow color, even though we told them that was a bad idea. And then we got into enterprise level website development with 40, 50,000 properties. So we built a completely bespoke system that covered everything. But the really interesting thing we did is we actually adopted the WordPress admin system on the left-hand side, but kept it completely trapped within the functionality that we wanted. But it had nothing to do with WordPress. It was just purely there because people understood WordPress.
You used it just to effectively use the template that everybody was familiar with, but not using the actual technology.
It had nothing to do with WordPress at all. It was all built on React and various other things as well. So that was a very good positioning for it. And believe me, I've built a lot of WordPress websites personally for people and for the family and for enterprises. And I'm very much with Boris. I've become incredibly frustrated with its intractability. I've got a good analogy if you want to hear it, I think. We're trying to figure out an analogy for WordPress. So Boris now lives in Europe, but once upon a time, he'd have been fairly close to East Germany, where they used to manufacture Trabants in 1957. Trabis, if anybody knows them, is that car that the East Germans used to manufacture from 1957 to Gone When the Wall Fell Down. So they were never there with a fuel gauge. They were never there with a speedometer. And it doesn't matter how many times you plug in a V8 engine or chrome bumpers or a fuel gauge or repaint it a different color, it's still a Trabant at the end of the day. So that's my kind of analogy on WordPress. We've moved into a new incarnation.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Mark, you're obviously an advocate. Actually, before I move to Mark, I should just say we've got a couple of polls here to for everyone to jump in on. Are you team WordPress or team AI? And what website platform do you currently use to build your website? Mark, tell us about the joys of WordPress. Tell us why you use it and continue to use it for Boostly, and just give us a bit of WordPress love.
Well, first and foremost, I didn't realize I'm going to come in here and get a history lesson today. So, Richard, thank you very much. I'm always a fan, always intrigued. I think it is really interesting, and I would love to know the people that are tuning in. I'm looking at all the attendees' names, and I recognize a lot of names, but there's some names I don't. So I'd love to know whether you vote in the poll or just use that chat button. Let us know what you are doing right now for your website, because I think it will be very interesting because it will shape our conversation. So please do vote in the poll. So where does Boostly come in? Well, 10 years ago, when I first started Boostly, it was because there was hosts who were struggling when it came to direct bookings. And I was born and raised in a little town called Scarborough. I'm sure Richard will give me a history lesson on Scarborough any second now. But in Scarborough, where I was born and raised, I was a part of a family that grew a bed and breakfast business into quite a cool thing that exited eventually. But in 2016, I went to a tourism meeting in our area, and there's about 100 people in the room. And in that room, there's loads of people at this one meetup, and we're talking about where our bookings came from. And it was really interesting because, you know, out of the 100 people in the room, majority of people were complaining about Booking.com, Expedia, this plucky little upstart called Airbnb. And I just asked a very simple, maybe stupid question, but, you know, who was actually getting bookings like direct through like things like email and socials and their website? And there was a very small amount of people in the room who put their hands up. And that little question started what has been the last 10 years of like a journey. And what is really interesting to me, that those people in the room, yes, they had a website, whether it is in whatever CMS you want to put it on. But a lot of people were just struggling to get direct bookings. Now, fast forward to like 2018, and after 2 years of doing Boostly, all of the advice and the guidance that I was giving, whether it was about email marketing or social media or whatnot, it always sort of fell back to the website, because they said the website, they were stuck on a PMS-driven website, so the free website that you get with your PMS. I see a PMS owner in the chat, so hello, Alex. Or B, they'd self-done their website, whether it was on WordPress or whatever, and they were just really struggling. So the best host that came to me and said, Mark, I would love to update my website, but there's one problem. My website designer's gone to prison. So I was like, okay, well, we can't have you helping us. So that's why we started doing website design. Unlike these other chaps, I've never even heard or used of Dreamweaver. I was just somebody that had used WordPress, loved it, and dug into it, and it just made sense to build websites on there. And over the last 10 years, we've partnered up and linked with and integrated with the PMSs like Hostfully and Hospitable, etc. So that's our background. That's our history of using WordPress. And like I say, we're a big fan of it. And I'm really interested for this discussion.
You mentioned PMSs there. Now, I'm very aware that there's going to be several people on here who have a PMS. They're property managers potentially with numerous properties. They might use Logify, Avantio, Guesty, Hostway of this world, and they have a templated website. What are your thoughts? Now let's try to keep it nice and easy here. But what are your thoughts on people using PMS websites in terms of the freedom that they have and whether it does the job? Because we know this has been an easy alternative, let's say, to WordPress over the last 5 or 10 years. I know my thoughts, but I'm going to take myself out of it for the moment. Richard, I saw you smiling straight away. When we consider, say, Wix, Squarespace, all the PMSs out there that offer a direct booking solution, tell us your thoughts on how that's been for you, how you've looked upon that in the last, say, 10 years.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, Wix, Squarespace, those other CMSs have also taken a share of the market. And I actually have websites running on all of these actually for various purposes over the years. And they are also as difficult as WordPress as far as I'm concerned to manage. In fact, I think Wix has become even more difficult to manage now than WordPress. So in terms of the PMSs, I mean, it was a natural direction for the PMSs to take because all PMSs want to keep their business sticky. So they're going to offer up certain things to keep themselves sticky. One will be payments and the other will be websites, of course. So the natural direction was let's create templated websites. So this might shock you, but I've just scraped 28,000 PMS connected websites.
Doesn't shock me at all, Richard.
Yeah, well, I did it for a reason. The vast majority of those actually were templated websites. They weren't WordPress websites. I was really quite surprised. If you do a deep dive into them, the vast majority of the smaller ones, I'm going to say it, are extremely poor, and I would not expect them to convert, let alone get traffic. So, you know, those are businesses with very small numbers of properties, generally speaking. If you're going to build a website, you've got to have a purpose for it. And I'm pretty sure later on, somebody will say we don't actually need a website. But when you move up into bigger volumes, you know, you're 50, your 100, your 200, your 300 properties, there are templated websites from PMSs out there which look half decent. Certainly, they don't convert as well as I think they should. And also, they are very hard to administrate because they are templated within a PMS system. And got to give PMS companies their due. These are very hard businesses to manage because everybody's got a different business model and everybody's got a different angle and a different complaint and a different desire. And therefore, the support structures connected to those things are very, very difficult. So they have a purpose, but I don't actually think they are the best way of doing these things. I do actually think you need to take an API and you do actually need to move into the next incarnation of websites, which will be AI driven for all the other reasons as well, which are related to having a brain in your website connected to your data. So they have a position. I'm just not confident that they are actually what is going to bring you direct bookings.
Many of them will claim to be AI powered now as well. Boris, I can see you touching your microphone, just ready to go. So tell me your thoughts here. You're itching to get involved.
Yeah, I think all three of us, actually, all four of us, will probably agree that PMS websites are definitely not the way to go. I would take a WordPress website over a PMS website for the simple reason, I'm generalizing here. I'm pretty sure like a few PMSs have pretty good websites, but if it's something that is completely templated with very, very, very limited customization options, then obviously it's not going to rank and it's not going to serve its purpose. So I think the worst you can go for is a basic PMS powered website. Now, just to make it clear, we mentioned Wix and Squarespace, and I've also built a fair share of website on Wix over the years. And yes, originally it has become extremely difficult to manage. Now, these don't really connect to the PMSs, right? So you can build a very nice marketing website on Wix and Squarespace, but you need something to connect to the PMS, and you need a booking engine, in other words. And if your booking engine is the PMS booking engine, and then you have a marketing website on Wix, that's a bit of a mess right there. You're not really getting any SEO benefits or traction. So I would advise against that. So in essence, I do believe that WordPress is better than the PMS websites, with a few exceptions, maybe. I don't want to name particular PMSs, but there are some that started out as website builders, so I would assume their websites are pretty good.
Mark, you obviously use WordPress. Now we all know that there are issues with WordPress. You know, as much as I want to be the advocate here for WordPress as well, we know plugin bloating, compatibility, updates, security can be an absolute nightmare to keep up with, and especially websites where somebody has maybe anything above 20 plugins can be a bit of a nightmare when you've got an issue and you have to disable and re-enable everything. How do you solve that for your clients? those issues that inevitably come from those tools that you bring in?
Yeah, every CMS, which is, for people who don't know, content management system that is out there, has its pros and its cons. And the beautiful thing about WordPress is that it's like an open city. So you decide what gets built on there. We're talking about PMS websites, the templates. That is like a walled garden. And listen, you know, to give them a bit of fairness here, a PMS website for the most part is free. It's like a free add-on to their services to make their services seem more appealable amongst the 1,000 and whatever other PMSs that are out there. It made sense, like Richard said, to bring them into their business model and their promotion. But, you know, a free website, end of the day, you get what you pay for, is very restricted. So WordPress is fantastic because it is like a blank canvas. But with that comes vulnerabilities. I saw a report, it was on Google, 91% of WordPress vulnerabilities are actually in the plugins. So you talk about plugins. So WordPress itself isn't insecure. It's the lazy plugin cleanup or choices. Okay, so what we see a lot with people that we work with, and obviously when we build their website, we aren't like passing it over and going, you can't do this, you can't do that. We give them full admin. So when we give them to the host, we say, hey, this is yours. Like, we've built this. This is a framework. We've obviously had that integration that Boris and Richard and Damien, you were talking about. We've got the PMS integration going straight in via our plugin, funny enough, that we created. We hand it over. And then when they come to us, they'll be like a month down the line or 2 months down the line, and they're like, Mark, it's broken. Your Boostly website's broken. And we actually have a look. It's because of very poor plugin maintenance, or they've just gone in and just added in a load of extra plugins that aren't need to be there. So my advice to everybody, and I have had a little look at the poll, and unless it's been updated in the last couple of minutes, the majority of you are using WordPress websites. And if you ever are stuck there thinking, A, it's loading really slowly, B, it's not performing, I would advise you just give a quick little 30-minute plugin admin, and it could maybe alleviate a lot of the problems that you have. And I would say out of 70% of the issues that come to us in our inbox at Boostly, majority of it can be taken care of with just a little bit of plugin, a plugin cleanup, as we call it.
Tell us about the
Can I jump on here, Damien? Just something that Mark said about WordPress being a blank canvas. I agree with that. But then if you look at AI websites, they're a blank universe. You can literally build anything with AI these days. And you can plug a CMS, an existing headless open source CMS, if you don't want to pay for it, within an AI website and have the CMS functionalities if you want them. Because I do agree that some parts of the traditional CMS are actually quite useful when it comes to blog posts, for example, any kind of structured, repeatable data you want published on your website. A CMS is the better way to go because you don't have to rewrite the code every time. It's going to be different. You're going to generate a lot of technical debt. But the opportunity that AI-generated websites present is much, much bigger than anything else out there because the code itself is being written the way you want it to. Or let's rephrase that. You can build anything you want to. You're not going to look at the code.
See what he's done there, Damien. He's gone straight to point 7 of our agenda here. He's going, we're talking about WordPress, and literally give him a little...
Have an agenda?
Give him an inch.
I'm not sure if anyone's had a look at our agenda. You mentioned PMSs there, and somebody has mentioned in the Q&A here about PMS integration, and that'll be very common for a lot of our attendees here. What are the issues there, or are there issues? Is it fairly straightforward in terms of WordPress? You know, using a plugin, don't laugh, Richard. No, I mean, I know a lot of people are doing this quite successfully. Using a WordPress basis, like premise for their website, and feeding in the PMS into that. Mark, I know you're all over that. So tell us about your experience and how that should run smoothly.
Who are you asking?
I was asking Mark, but anybody can jump in.
Well, let me just jump in on top of these two guys, because actually I'm a big advocate of what they're both doing. Okay. And the reason for that is that when you deal with managers who need websites, they have to go somewhere to get a website. Okay, WordPress, AI, whatever you're going to use, you need an integration to your PMS. Okay, and there aren't many ways of actually doing this. You can use a plugin like Mark's got, or you can use on-season API connectivity with AI deployment, etc. One of the biggest hurdles for managers, particularly when they get sizable, is that they will have a website developed by a third-party software developer. He's a web developer. That's time and that's money. And that's expense because it starts from scratch. And of course, when you want to change your PMS, that old famous phrase, I want to change my PMS, you all of a sudden become trapped because you cannot connect it. So I'll let these guys jump in because this is their business, but I'm actually a very big advocate of the capacity to do multiple PMS connections. So.
Mark or Boris, I'll let you jump in.
Come on, Boris, you go first, my friend.
Well, I think we'll both agree that PMS integrations are something that keeps us up at night, and literally had nightmares when it comes to PMS integrations. That's part of the job, I suppose. We are both doing it in different ways, but we both succeeded at integrating with these PMSs, which is something that's, again, part of our business. And what Richard said about changing PMSs, yes, it's definitely easier if you're using a Boostly website or a non-season website. It's much easier to change your PMS because we need to do a little some tweaking at the back end, and then your website will still be the same. It's still going to function. Whereas if you hire a custom web development agency, first of all, it's going to be super expensive. And second of all, if you want to switch PMSs, then they're going to be, oh, well, that's a problem. That's going to cost you 100 hours of development time at 55 euros an hour. So you make the calculations.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories about what developers are charging to change and move something. Mark?
Yeah, well, we built 27 integrations, and like Boris, it can be very stressful because anybody can get access to API docs now, right? You can literally go onto Google search or insert your LLM of choice and get access to and most of the PMS API docs. So anybody can say that they can build you an integration, right? And it can probably link into wherever you want it to link into. But the problem is as soon as something goes wrong, or as soon as a PMS changes its, without getting too geeky, its logs or its endpoints, that's when you've got issues. Because then when you go to said PMS and you say, hey, this isn't working, they go, oh, you're not on our preferred partner list, see you later, right? So that has happened, and I've seen it happen. That's because then they come to us because we've got these, we've built relationships and partnerships, and we pay them a lot of money to get access to their support and stuff on there, and you see it a lot. If anybody is dabbling with any of these AI sites that isn't what Boris is doing, or recommended people are doing, so for example, Lovable, a lot of people are jumping on Lovable, which is great, right? And it's fantastic. You can put together a real cool front end of a website. And I've said this a few times this week, and I'll say it again here. So any AI vibe coded or whatever you want to call it website that you can put together is like the most beautiful car that you can see. So I think Lamborghini, Ferrari, whatever your favorite car is, but it's just the body. The true power of any successful website is the engine. It's the thing that actually powers it to go from A to B. And unfortunately, in the world of hospitality and what we're trying to do with direct booking websites, any AI website that you can put together is like a car without the engine. So what Boris is doing, what we're doing, there's a couple of others that are doing it really well, is that we're providing, a very nice looking body, but it's also the engine. And that is what the integrations truly, truly are. So that's my opinion on
that. So we've seen a lot of words attributed to what's now deemed by some people to be a legacy software, Frankenstack and the likes. We'll talk about the benefits of using AI over WordPress in a moment. But one thing I wanted to pick you up on, Mr. Vorten, was I saw you speaking very recently with Jessica Gillingham, and you mentioned that you were vibe coding a site or a dashboard or something recently for several weeks. and your son said to you, his feedback was, Dad, what are you doing? You've made an utter mess of this.
Yeah.
I put to you, is it possible that a lot of people could get out of control with their vibe coding, whatever they're doing, and make an utter mess of their site, and they should stick to what they know or what we know does okay?
So yeah. So don't forget, I used to own a PMS, web development, channel distribution company, and software developers, and my sons were two of the software developers for it. So I got into vibe coding because I wanted to understand it. I want to know what's going on. I've tried them all: Replit, Lovable, Claude. I'm on Anti-Gravity at the moment, and I've been building it. And I built a most beautiful single property website, and I built an entire administration system behind it. And I used Airbnb as the source for all the data through APIs. So I actually knew what I was doing in terms of building it from visualization. I did get through an awful lot of tokens. It cost me far too much money because I wasn't very good at prompting. But when my son actually had a look at the architecture of it, because this is his skill set, he looked at it and he went, "Dan, what did you just build? You shouldn't deploy that."
That's what you mean by architecture.
Yeah, I put it. I mean, it was completely insecure. I'd actually got API credentials exposed in the code and all sorts of things I was never thinking about. And he's saying, "Why are you deploying it on this particular hosting when you could stick it on this one?" You know, and if you'd actually prompted it the right way, you could have created something much more beneficial, because they're all developers and they're all using Claude, but they're using a professional environment. So what I built was something that I can actually use. And I've tweaked it and I've had it made secure and stuff right now. But even now, I went to it the other day and the API had fallen over. It wasn't actually pulling in the prices correctly. So I'd have to be on top of it continuously and build a monitoring system and be awake 24/7 just to make sure it was working. And my real worry is, because I have AI companies every day asking me to look at their product and see if it's got a market fit, and maybe give them advice in various directions. It's very difficult to build a vibe-coded business unless you actually know what you're doing as an architectural designer of the base measures that go along with these things in a multi-tenanted system. And then you got to sell it and you got to support it and you got to have all the infrastructure correct, and you can't fall over. You got to have all the support mechanisms and monitoring mechanisms and everything else. So you can build one. My worry is there's a lot of people out there thinking they can go and sell these things at scale, and they really can't. And the biggest problem for all of them, they actually need Boris and Mark here, because they actually need to connect to PMSs, because PMSs are the source of truth for all the data they actually want to use. So we have firewalls. I'm not calling Mark and Boris firewalls. They're building businesses, but these are the entry points to actually building a vibe-coded business, any business. So get out there, try it, really have a go at it, understand it, but don't think you can build a business off the back of it unless you've got really fundamental skills attached to it.
Boris, would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I have an example on my own. So our sales lead, and some of you know her, Filipa, we tasked her to vibe code our CRM because no CRM was good enough, and she was complaining all the time. I was like, okay, so I'm going to show you how to use Cloud Code and build our own CRM. Now, she did it, and we're actually using it. But two things. First of all, before we started using it, our development team went all over it and fixed all the security issues that it had, because everything was exposed. Anyone could have, taken our customer data, and even worse things than that. And we didn't have the LLM API credentials exposed, but I mean, it was almost as bad as that. Second, you would not see us selling a CRM. We're never going to sell this thing because it was tailor-fit to our purpose. It's not suitable to be sold. Just because you build something for yourself, it doesn't mean you can sell it to others. And that's a real danger. I've seen this happen recently with a few products, including one of our own. Someone vibe coded it, copy pasting all of our open API docs, which are public, and claiming that they've built the product. Obviously, it's not true. We tested it. It's complete bullshit. But that's something we're going to see more and more happening in the future. People vibe coding things and trying to sell them. So don't fall for that. Even if Mark and I are no longer firewalls or like gatekeepers to the API integrations to PMSs soon, still make sure that you're getting something that has been checked by a proper security team at least, and proper development team before paying, because you're not just going to lose your money, you're probably going to lose a lot more than that.
I would also add as well, you're right. Now it's so easy to spin up any tool that you can see. And there's a lot of people now launching, and you can see it in Facebook groups and things saying, I've created this tool X, Y, and Z. One of the easiest things to do without having to spend money, what Boris is saying is very recommended, but you haven't got the funds to do it, is just go look to see, you know, the Trustpilot, for example, or go and look to see what they post online and what sort of a presence have they got, and do they actually stand the test? Do they actually know what they're talking about, or have they just created this over the weekend and called it a business? And it is going to happen a lot, I'm afraid. It is really going to happen a lot. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to fall for it. I can't believe somebody tried and ripped off on season by just copying and pasting, but it literally will happen. And I'd be amazed if somebody hasn't tried to do it with with what we're doing as well. But yeah, you just got to keep your wits about you, because there is going to be a lot out there. And you know, before I started doing all of this, I had hair. Boris, I'm sure that you've gone through a lot of stress, like doing all of these things that we have built for this. It's not something you can do over the weekend. We've had to eat the glass, so to speak, and sort of really build it and put it all together. And again, it's not something we've done like just on a whim. It's something that we spent a lot of time and effort and knowledge creating, and relationships with these PMSs. Because Richard's true, they are the source of truth. That is where your data lies, and that's where your data sits. And so to be able to do what you want to do outside of their platform, you need to really be working with people that have built the relationships, the partnerships, sign the contracts, sign the agreements, to be able to get access to that data, which is what Boris and I, and there's a few other amazing people are doing it as well.
So those, again, who know me know I'm all about direct bookings, with all due respect to our wonderful partners at Scale. We have Book Direct Show, and people having just the control and ability to bring in direct bookings, we'd all agree is really important. Oh, by the way, I can see the chat for some reason isn't working, but Louise is going to come back on in about 5 minutes just to post some questions that have been asked. Tell us, guys, what are your thoughts on direct bookings and the future of direct bookings, given that we have WordPress using AI alone? What's the best potential out there, and you know, in terms of increasing our direct bookings, or not just falling foul of OTAs in the future?
And Richard, do you want to go?
Anyone can join.
Well, I think the whole discussion was about WordPress and AI, wasn't it? So I'll just throw in a few comments that we have 60,000 plugins and 10,000 different templates, and I scraped 28,000 websites, and pretty much they all look the same. So I've kind of got WordPress and PMS website fatigue. And I know a lot of people are very conscious of that. You go to a website, you look at it, you think, oh, it looks like every other one. Is this a company? Is this a business I can trust? I think there's always been a problem with that. And I think it's scaled because WordPress has scaled. And it's very easy, even for the very professional, very expensive software web developers, to actually modify a template and then bill you a large amount of money for that. It's essentially the same. It's like WordPress website with a few design tweaks into it. It's got all sorts of, you mentioned it earlier, it's got sorts of technical legacy stuff. It's slow PHP, it's not designed for API connectivity, it hasn't got a brain in it that you can actually think of as an AI tool. Just, I say this to a lot of people, just imagine your website will actually recognize somebody coming in from the same IP address, looking at the same property over 3 days. That's connected to your PMS, and your PMS says, okay, this person's come back, the owner says they're prepared to take a discount, we'll flag up the discount for them, and we'll show them exactly how much it's going to cost to run Airbnb at the same time, because they're using a Python scraper script. You can do a lot like that, and that will give you better conversions. But you're still going to have to build in all the other elements for this direct booking stuff, which is where the OTAs win, and that's trust, and that's personal, that's company. It's almost payment solution connectivity. But actually, there is a design function here that gives people a lot more confidence. And I don't think many people have actually addressed this. It's because they need a website. They don't, the vast majority of the people in this world don't talk about websites on a daily basis. They go to work, they come home, they have their dinner, they might watch TV, go play golf or something. They don't do what we do. They don't obsess about this bits of the business. So for them, they've got a website. Well, why are the bookings not coming in? Well, we all know you have to work at this. You have to work at it hard to build the traffic. If you're getting 1 in 100 conversions at 1%, you're kind of hotel level. You're not doing too bad. If you're 1 in 50, you're doing well. If you're getting 1 in 25, you're doing even better. And in the year 2001, we got 1 in 2, which was fantastic. There were no OTAs. So, so there's a whole spectrum of skills you need and tools that will allow you to increase traffic and convert. And this is we could spend an entire day on this. And you've got 2 experts here as well, who I'm sure would like to comment, because I could probably go on forever about don't use WordPress websites because they all look the same.
I'll just very quickly say, and if anybody is thinking, oh, my website's not converting that well as what Richard's given, the average vacation rental website in our industry converts at a 0.4% average. So don't worry, right? If yours isn't if you're thinking, oh my gosh, my website isn't doing very well, that's the average, right? And if you can achieve the levels that Richard's talking about, amazing. Now, I've been really enjoying what Gil kind of Crafted Stays has been putting out on LinkedIn recently. And he put something really that stuck with me, that everything that we're talking about, websites, whether it's AI or Wix or WordPress or Squarespace or whatever, that is only a part of the problem, right? The main thing is a discovery problem. And that comes to what I first started talking about when I started my journey 10 years ago. Having a website is just one part of the equation if you want to increase direct bookings. Whereas I feel like direct bookings just gets all lumbered together. You got to look at direct bookings as a different revenue split. So website is one part of that revenue split within the direct booking tree or pie chart, whatever you want to call it. And then you've also got to do, emails with your CRM, as Boris was talking about. Like the CRM is a tool that you use for your emails, for your social media posts, like chatting to customers or chatting to prospects, etc. And then you've also got social media in there, ads if you've got the budget to do it on Meta, on Google, on TikTok, on all of the tools that you can do Meta ads. And then you've got obviously offline marketing, other versions of online marketing, and everything else that is thrown in there. So if you're, say that you use On Season, right? Or you come to Boostly, or, you pay somebody to get a website from, right? You pay that money, you lay it down, you launch the website, and you go, brilliant, job done. I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to go kick my legs back, kick my feet back, and just wait for these bookings to roll in. It's as bad as listing on Airbnb, Booking.com, and Expedia and just expecting bookings to lie in. You have to be proactive. So if any of you, when it comes to direct bookings and it comes to websites, and you go, I'm just going to get a website, I'm just going to wait for bookings to roll in, that's the wrong attitude to have. It doesn't matter whether it's an AI website, a vibe-coded website, a WordPress, or whatever. And so this direct booking chat, and I know there's been a lot of chat about it. Richard put a really good piece out on his Yes Consulting Network about direct bookings in 2026. It on a macro level, it may look like we're failing. Or on a micro level, I know a lot of people who are using this amazing technology that is now at our fingertips to boost their direct booking numbers, which is great. We've just got to make sure that we do it the right way. We don't do it the wrong way, and we follow the advice of what's being said in this webinar. And I'm sure if you follow what all 4 of us are talking about moving forward, I feel like you'll be all right moving forward.
Boris?
I think Richard and Mark covered it all, so I'm going to offer a different perspective on direct bookings altogether, which I don't think it's supposed to be part of this panel, of this talk at all. I think direct bookings will move beyond websites. I think little by little, websites will start becoming obsolete. as we are moving more into an agentic kind of interaction with the internet. So I think people are going to start booking directly with their AI assistant, whatever this may be. I probably ChatGPT, but not in the form and shape we see it today. So I think that's where direct bookings are heading. But that doesn't mean that today we shouldn't take the steps to be discoverable. And I would agree with Mark. Gil from Crafted Stays has been putting out really valuable content on LinkedIn on how to make these websites, the websites that we all create, how to make them discoverable by AI agents. Something that Google did yesterday and absolutely no one reported about it, I don't know why, is they reiterated WebMCP. So WebMCP is something that was announced first in, I believe, February of this year. It's essentially a way for Google's AI agents to browse your website, but not in the way that AI agents browse today. Like they take screenshots, and then they parse the screenshot and try to figure out how your website functions. But a way for these AI agents to actually search, filter listings and make an actual booking. It's called WebMCP. And if you check Google's blog from yesterday, it's part of the Chrome developers blog. They give you information on how your website can become readable by Google's agents. Google actually did two things yesterday. They announced the Universal Cart, part of the Universal Commerce Protocol, and they showed how bookings will be done, but in collaboration with Booking and Expedia, for their agentic travel partners. So that part lost. But the second part, which they didn't really announce, there's just a blog post out there about WebMCP. That's our opportunity, and that's the opportunity of every website, direct booking website, to get a little bit ahead and get discovered by Google. So I would advise everyone to read up on that. It's still new. It still hasn't rolled out, but that's how we prepare. We prepare our website, we prepare our data, we structure it, and ultimately we'll be ready also for agentic bookings when they arrive. Hopefully, they will not be monopolized by the OTAs.
When are they going to arrive, Boris?
I am not at liberty to say. Soon, very soon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, I'll chuck something in there, Boris. Question really. You saw Capital One bought Hopper. So already there's a big payment processing business with 500,000 properties.
Yeah, funny you should mention payment processing. It's actually the thing that has become kind of difficult to plug, because right now it's very much possible to process a booking. Now there's two difficult bits: get that booking into the PMS and get the payment. So with integrations, we've solved the PMS bit. With payments, it's not that straightforward, since ChatGPT walked back on their agentic commerce protocol. They said, oh, we're not going to be processing payments. OTAs are going to do that. Now with Google, it's more or less the same kind of narrative. So we're very close to getting the full agentic booking with payments. So that it's weeks. It's literally weeks. I'm hoping that for Scale AI we'll be able to showcase that.
You did actually mention that about 6 months ago, that you thought it might happen before Brighton. So yeah. Okay, we'll keep looking.
Damien, just one thing. It's probably good to ask Mark. Actually, is I haven't really checked the audience, but we always polarize into small owners, users. They might have between 1 and 3 properties. Then we have managers. They can go up to like 20,000 in actual fact, and they are completely different animals. And Boris we might not have a website. I mean, I agree with him, particularly on the small level. But it's very challenging not to think we will have websites when you've actually got enterprise level businesses trying to avoid those channels, which will actually take a commission out. Whichever way we look at this, these businesses will squeeze the margin. They don't really care about supply. They care about their own business. So, Mark, what's your experience of the small customers you've got in terms of the effort they put in for their websites for direct bookings compared to managers who've got much bigger inventory?
I tell you what everybody is doing now, which is exciting. And obviously, you know, when they work with us, they get a website, right? Even the smaller operators, 1, 2, or 3 properties. And what's really funny to see since the turn of the year, and obviously I've gone down this AI agentic rabbit hole. I think like we all have, dabbling with all of the crazy tools that are out there. So what we're doing is we're not sort of replacing like the main website, but what a lot of people are doing now is they're using these tools. Like we use Go High Level, which is the CRM that we use, and we know what Go High Level is probably one of the most used CRMs that is probably in our industry. But not many people have heard of Go High Level because they've got an amazing white label product. So anybody that's sort of is selling outside of obviously Boris's company that's selling like a CRM service or solution, they probably are using Go High Level. And so we obviously use it. We do a lot of work within it, and they've built their own version of Lovable within Go High Level now. And what a lot of our hosts are doing is they're using these tools like from 1, 2, and 3 property owners to create sub mini sites or sub mini tools. Like for example, one of them showed us yesterday that they basically were paying Touch Day digital guidebooks about $15 or $20 a month. They just built that version within their own Go High Level, and they're saving the money. And somebody else has built this upsell tool again within Go High Level that they're now generating more revenue per guest, not from getting more properties, not from getting more bookings, but making more revenue per booking by selling upsells and services. So it has been fascinating to me to see the small business owner, the person who 5 or 6 months ago, if they were to come to me to say, I want to build that, I'd be like, yeah, good luck, all the best. And now they're going out and doing it and not asking how, they're just going and doing it. And this is like a small little sample size. And it's fascinating to see how small business owners of capabilities that maybe be very small, or they may be geniuses at coding that they never told us. So that's the thing that I really noticed is the attraction to this, the adoption to this, and how many people are wanting to dig into, AI and agentic, whatever. So yeah, it's interesting to me to see on a small scale. But I will say with Boris, I do believe by the end of this decade, I honestly feel like the websites will not be used how we use them now. I feel like with agentics and agents and whatever we want to call them, we use them now on a business level, but it's very, very soon going to be used more commonly in B2C. So the general public will use them. I don't know about you chaps, but I haven't done a Google search in 2026, which is, I never would have thought I would have never said I would never do a Google search. I've been using LLMs, and I feel like the next step from that will be I won't even need to do it. I'll just ask an agent to do it for me. And I feel like when that happens properly, why do they need to use websites? You know what I mean? And I agree with Boris. I don't know what it looks like properly. And Richard, I hear what you're saying. But I think by the end of this decade, I think that everything that we know when it comes to websites is going to be very, very different to how we use them in 2026.
Fascinating stuff, guys. I'm conscious that we are slightly over time, so I just want to invite Louise back in here. Just if we have any questions that anyone's asked. I know people have put more chat in the Q&A field because our chat was down. Lou, are there any questions that have stood out that we can ask our panelists today?
Yeah, apologies for the chat. Don't know what happened there, but it didn't get activated. One really fundamental question that I just perhaps we didn't start off with and kick off with is what do you call AI powered? I mean, what does that actually mean when you say an AI powered website? What is an AI powered website?
Yeah, I can take that one. So you have AI created website, which means that AI wrote the code of that website. And that website, that whole code usually goes to GitHub. It's like a code repository where the code is being guarded, and then it's deployed via, let's say, a hosting provider of sorts. I'm trying to explain it in a very simple terms, but I think I'm failing in that. Anyway, it means that AI wrote the code for the website. Now, AI powered website, I guess that would be, I don't know, that would be an LLM interacting with a WordPress existing website somehow. Mark, help me out there. What would AI powered mean for you?
Well, I just think that somebody was putting a few words on putting a few words on one of these tools that we've talked about, the whatnot, and there's out a website on the other side. I just want to say, Wendy, Wendy's in the Q&A, and she's put Manus AI, which is another LLM owned by Meta. I love Manus, by the way, Wendy. Built our direct booking website in a day, including booking, OTA availability, ID checks, payments, hooked into our PMS database. I had a look at the site, right? And for a one shot, which was basically one prompt, put it in, like really good. It's in the Q&A. It's basically one stay.com if you want to go check it out if you're on a replay. Looking at it, like you say, great for a one shot. I feel like this will replace anybody going on to Fiverr for $100, $200, paying somebody to put together a website for you. But but there are systematic things that are wrong with the site that anybody who has put together any form of website in the past will be able to see what they are. And I think the best way to describe it is this. We're now 2 to 3 years in with OpenAI, right? And OpenAI got really popular at one point because people were able to design images, right? They could put together images, and you could see people were trying to cheat photography by using AI to put together images of properties that they were going to then list on Airbnb. Got to a point where AI images and AI videos were used so much, a term was created called AI slop. You will have heard it, you'll have seen it, you will love it, you don't love it, whatever. It's the same for websites, right? When you have an AI-powered, AI vibe-coded, whatever you want to call it, website, it just looks like slop. And I'm not saying, Wendy, yours is slop, but when you vibe code a site together, that's the impression that you get. And you can spot it a mile off. And I can tell you who is starting to spot it a mile off. It's your future potential guest, right? I put together a flyer. I'm on a tangent here. I put together a flyer for a village fair last week, and I used ChatGPT to do it from start to end. I printed it off. My 13-year-old, what was like 13-year-old, walked into the room. This is like Gen Z. He said, "You did an AI to do that." So even now, my dumbass 13-year-old, he even knows what AI is, right? AI slop is, right? I can say that because he's on the other end of this door laughing away as I'm talking, right? So you just got to be careful, right? Because at the end of the day, what do we want from our websites? We want to have somebody to land on it and somebody to vibe with it and book it, right? And if we're all creating these AI versions of websites that have gotten zero trust built in, that don't look real, that don't look like a real person or a real company who's put it together, they're going to get confused, they're going to get lost, and they're going to bounce, and they're going to bounce straight back to Airbnb, like Richard says, Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo, because that's who they trust, that they're not going to scam and take the money off them. So that's where I feel like we're heading with this, and hopefully I answered your question.
Can I chuck in a tip here? Because I think this is kind of interesting. So when I was building my own particular website, which by the way, Mark, is beautiful, and I'll show you later. One of the things that I've always struggled with websites, because I bought a local DMO here, I own the local domain names. The thing we always struggled with was the event content. So if you go back to the year 2000, my local town that I own the domain name for, everybody used to come in and they used to look for hotels and short-term rentals and accommodation, and that was the big thing. And that disappeared very quickly, and the OTAs appeared. But what the thing stuck with was events. So everybody wants to know what's on. So they go to the local website, what's on? What we used to do is go to all the local DMOs, because the DMOs were destination marketing organizations. They were putting all the events in, and all the local websites were putting events in and stuff. we'd copy them all out and we'd manually put them into a database, and then we'd have to deploy them and make sure they were taken off when the date expired. Well, I discovered you could actually vibe code using Google AI Studio as the LLM for analysis to give it all the local DMOs and tell it with a prompt to go to all these websites, find all the events that are actually on, collate them all, and produce a beautiful display of these on the website. And when they expire, please remove it on a daily basis. Oh my word. Did it do a beautiful job of this? Seriously. And it did it it took me 5 minutes, and it does it in seconds. It was incredible. And the thing about all that is that, like my co-founder Renzivo used to say, he said, if you can describe it to me, Richard, we can code it. That's so true with the new incarnation of large language models and coding. You can describe it, it can be done. You just got to do it right.
Great answer.
And Richard, you can set up a cron job or like a routine in Claude so that it goes and it fetches new events and then update your website automatically without doing anything.
It does it. It does it every day. I've got a cron job in there.
Oh yeah, you did that. Okay, you did that already. Of course you did. I saw a question about Revolut entry. Yeah. Okay, so Revolut has been in the short term, in the short stay market for a long time now. How? Via Expedia's VRBO. However, recently they started working with NuIT for everything. So NuIT is it's like this type of travel of sorts. They process travel. They're a bed bank as well. We are trying to partner up with them. But Revolut has been there for a very long time. It just receives rates currently from OTAs when it comes to vacation rentals, actually from one OTA, and that's VRBO. Hopefully soon there'll be more. And it's not just Revolut. All sorts of fintechs. Anyone with distribution powers will go into travel. We saw Uber. They struck a deal with Expedia. Expedia seem to be doing quite well on the B2B front. So all these distribution outlets, as I call them, they're going to be getting into travel. It's not just OTAs anymore.
I mean, is there a vote? It'd be great to hear people vote on if they really, really still want direct bookings or they're happy using OTAs. Because if you went back 20 years, 2006, 2008, it was violence. It was, they're almost unions against OTAs. And now it's accepted that they are a major part of the industry, but there's a certain amount of hostility to the amount of money they take. So I'm kind of curious, what is the attitude now about OTAs? Is it worth putting all the effort in for your own website to actually, try and get direct bookings or repeat bookings? Because I think repeat bookings is interesting. You don't actually need a website. You just need the data on the fly to create a payment solution with a few pictures.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mark, did you want to add something there before we sign off?
No, I think we've covered it all. We've covered it well. I'm just fascinated to see how quick Louise can get a poll together before we finish on Richard's question. I can see her typing away to get this poll up quick as you can. But, this is a really good conversation. It's a really good webinar. It's a really good topic. And I feel like as this year goes on, I feel like it can change daily, weekly, monthly. So thank you everybody for tuning in. There's a lot of names I recognize in the chat, people that I've had these conversations with many times, and I know me and Richard have been booked in for another one of these conversations next week with an American podcast, which is fascinating. So it doesn't matter how many times we do this and how many times we both say that we agree with each other, people keep wanting to have this conversation with us on AI versus WordPress. So Damien, thank you. Louise, thank you for having us. I've now got to go, and I'm solo parenting. That's why I keep looking at the door to see a 3-year-old barge in at any minute here. So I've got to go and figure out to feed 4 little savages. So thank you for having me. Boris, as always, pleasure. Richard. A pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Mark, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Boris. Thank you all for your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us as well. Most people stayed with us for the full duration as well. So thank you, everyone. We're going to send you the recording in the next couple of days, and we'll send you a nice little promo discount for our AI event and for our Scale Fest. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.